Greetings, I am back after all this time. Sorry I've been away for so long. I've been busy with life and stuff. But I am returning to do a Age of Empires 4 review. Because I have found the game interesting enough to do a sort of review thing about. Now, for the long-awaited return for a franchise like Age of Empires, you had to expect it would have been a little bit on the interesting side. And the game has done, well, I find it personally to be a very good game. It's a good Age of Empires title. And yes, I say that specifically because if you were expecting a change for the formula of Age of Empires, this is not it. A lot of things that have been in the past games, like the 200 population and the certain units countering other units, is still there. It's still the same sort of franchise that it's been this whole time. If you were expecting something new, I don't know what to tell you. This game takes place in the same time period about as Age of Empires 2, so you'd expect it to be similar to that, and in many ways it is. It has the very similar unit structure that 2 does with every civilization, but the civilizations are a lot more like 3 in the sense of none of them have something in common. That's not the way to put it. How do I put this? Every civilization in 4 is different. They're not just like reskins of the same civ with a few unique units sprinkled between them. At present, there are only 8 civilizations with the English, French, Holy Roman Empire, the Rus, which I think is supposed to be Russia, the Mongol Empire, the Chinese, the Abbasid dynasty, and the Delhi Sultanate. You may notice that I've been using more specific names for the civilizations than what it has been in the past because, well, that's what the actual game goes for. Rather than calling something a generic name like for Germany in Age of Empires 3, it was just the Germans rather than specifically Prussia or Austria. Instead, it's specific civilizations. Now, the 8 civs may turn some people off because it seems like they're not trying, but Age of Empires 3 also started with 8 civilizations at first, and then I expect as time goes on, we will be having DLC that will add new civs like 3 did, so that it's not just these 8, because some civs, like the Byzantine Empire, are noticeably missing. I don't expect it's going to be as wide-reaching, because I don't know if you could fit at a Native American civ if it's at this time period, because they have a larger attention to history in this than they usually do. My favorite civ, though, at the moment has been the Holy Roman Empire. I like the infantry and I like the defensive play. Speaking of defensive play, Age of Empires 4 has added the ability to put archers and other infantry on the actual walls themselves. Stone walls, not the wooden walls. Which may sound a lot like Stronghold, except, not as slow as Stronghold because you still have that fast pace. And honestly, this actually is very interesting because that makes defending your city or town, whatever you want to call it for yourself, a lot easier because all you gotta do is put some units on a wall and let them shoot on anything coming nearby, and that makes it a lot more difficult for your enemies to actually get anywhere close to you. And on top of that, you can't actually attack stone walls with just any infantry unit. You actually need siege weapons. I know that may sound weird to point out because, yeah, that's what you would expect. But Age of Empires 2 had it where you could attack a stone wall with any infantry unit, so it's a different sort of thing for them to do where not everything can attack everything. You also have a unique sort of way to age up because instead of just clicking a button and just leveling up, it's more like 3 in the sense that you have to choose how you're going to level up. Except in 4, you actually have to build specific landmarks for each civilization. And you can normally only build one unless you're the Chinese, in which case you can build two, which is a nice little advantage they have because that actually allows them to advance in dynasties. Of course, now that does lead to the issue that the dynasty button is just right in the middle of the screen, and you can't do anything about it, and it's just sometimes it's not helpful. Luckily, though, it seems like Age of Empires developers have taken notice of that complaint, and they are actually going to fix that. But I'll get more into that later in the vid. Each landmark does something different, so depending on what type of strat you want to play with for a game, you can customize how you go about it. Personally, I do think some landmarks aren't really worth it for my playstyle because I tend to lean to a more defensive style, but you know what? Someone may be able to make some work. The most interesting civ in the game, though, is probably the Mongol Empire because this is the first time they've done a nomadic civilization where the purpose of the game is to be nomadic. You don't need to stay in one place. You can move around the map to almost anywhere except near the enemy's town center, which is what you would expect. And it's honestly an interesting civ. It doesn't really play to my playstyle, but it's a very cool concept. Another thing that's stayed the same, because it's been the same for a while, is the naval combat, because you got the same 4 basic ships. You got an anti-building, an anti-ship, a basic first ship thing, and an demolition ship, along with all the fishing and transport in the trade ships. It hasn't changed that much, so it's pretty much the same, except the French are a little bit more overpowered with their navy, and it sounds like they're getting a nerf on that end. Because somehow Age of Empires always gives the French something broken to play with. It doesn't matter whether it's great villagers in 3 or whatnot. The French get a early brokenness to them before they get some form of nerfness, if any. Another aspect to these games that is interesting and actually very cool are the campaigns. I say campaigns, but they're almost like interactive documentaries because you're essentially playing through a story. Like, I've actually streamed myself doing the Norman invasion of England and all the stuff that comes after that till the anarchy. And it is... you will learn things about the time period that you may never know. And it's a very good... does a very good job of it. Unlike Age of Empires 2, it doesn't take... it takes a lot more missions and stuff, but unlike 3, it's not rooted in the Illuminati and stuff, and the Fountain of Youth, and all other matter of crap. I mean, I like Age of Empires 3, but you're not going to learn history from 3's campaigns. Luckily, Age of Empires 3 did add the historical battle aspect, but that's neither here nor there. Honestly, everything the game has right now works well for it, and the most interesting thing is that the developers seem to actually listen because a lot of complaints that people have brought up have actually been announced to either be addressed in the future, like you can't change the hotkeys or stuff, or they're already been fixed. Like earlier, I mentioned the town center thing with the Mongol Empire and the. Actually, that was the only thing they fixed, but they are fixing things. On top of that, they're going to continue adding things that will be beneficial for the game in the long run. And on top of that, it doesn't seem like they're actually abandoning the previous titles, or at least they're not abandoning 2. I didn't expect them to. Even though, as of Age of Empires 4's release, 2 has been no longer the top RTS thing of their um, lineup, it's still performing well. Whether 3 will still get attention is another matter altogether, but I have moderate faith they will at least pay attention to 3. I say moderate because I don't know what they're planning for 3, because 3 has never been able to compete with 2, and now it has another game that it has to compete with. Whether or not I think Age of Empires 4 will replace 2 is another matter, and I will probably touch on that in another video. But overall, 4 is a good title. It gives you a lot to play with, a lot to work with, and it makes you want more. It's one of those few games where I'm interested in seeing what they're going to throw in for DLC. Like I said, the Byzantine Empire is noticeably missing in this game, along with other civs that you would think would be in the game but aren't yet. And it's obvious they're going to add more. Like, from the English campaign alone, you already know they're going to be adding the Danes in because they already had a flag and stuff worked up for them. So that's at least one civ that's going to be added at some point, I dare bet. And I do think this game has caused some effects on others because not Age, but Total War was supposed to be releasing Warhammer around this time, and they seem to have delayed it. Now, I'm not saying that CA saw Age of Empires 4 and thought, okay, this game's going to be good, we don't want to challenge it. It's moreover like a company not wanting to challenge Disney at the box office because they know they're probably going to get crushed. Moreover, it's you don't want to challenge a big dog's space because you don't want to get affected. But yeah, if you like Age of Empires or RTS in general, this game will probably interest you. If you're someone who's not the biggest fan of strategy or RTS and stuff, maybe not, but still give it a shot. But in other news, I don't have much, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I have stuff in the description if you want to join the Discord or whatnot. But other than that, thank you all for watching. I have a nice day.